What is Miami missing? Why, here's a question for you guys, and I don't have to put any money on it. Why do you think Miami will not be the next Silicon Valley? What is the primary ingredient that Miami is missing that would help it become the next Silicon Valley? Right? Somebody says it's missing young people. Not true. I think Miami has a lot of young people. I don't think it's I think it's probably more youthful than California in many ways. Right? Well, a workforce could move there, right? A workforce could move there. Yeah, Bree says they don't have Stanford. And it's not just Stanford. You think about the Bay Area. Bay Area has Berkeley, which is one of the top universities in the world and has a great engineering school. The Bay Area has Stanford, of course, which has one of the best universities in the world and excellent in sciences and engineering and excellent in commercializing the discoveries of its scientists. But the Bay Area has a number of other universities, but those are the two biggies. It doesn't have that. It doesn't have the universities. I mean, Miami is a party town. It's a great place to hang out. It's a great place, once you've made your money in Silicon Valley, to come and spend it. It's a great place for spending money. It's not clear to me that it's a great place to make money. It doesn't have the universities. It doesn't have the network. And it hasn't built a network. And you can't build a network overnight. Like Austin, Texas now has a network. But Austin started building that network. Austin started becoming a tech center in the late 1980s, early 1990s. Because a lot of defense industry tech stuff was down there. And as those industries closed, a lot of the engineers, and then the University of Texas is crucial. But then they started, and then venture capitalists started showing up in Texas in the early 90s. And then they started building up an infrastructure. And of course, Dell was there, and a lot of Dell engineers left and started companies, and people started moving to take jobs. And then, of course, other technology companies started putting themselves in Texas. And when you had the universities and everything else, Texas Instruments was in Dallas. I'm pretty sure Texas Instruments in Dallas. But it suddenly became this big tech center. Austin is mostly software, but what about Dell? Dell is hardware. And remember, not Hewlett-Packard, Compaq. You remember Compaq? Compaq was Houston. Texas Instruments was Dallas. So Texas has had a tech thing, but Austin took off because Austin has the university and it built the network effect. And it had a good relationship with Silicon Valley. Miami is too oriented towards tourism, towards party, towards sunshine, towards the beach, towards, I mean, what Cook was saying. Cook was commenting on the women in Miami, right? So I think Austin is likely to be, and is, of course, becoming a Silicon Valley. There's some argument that that's the future of New York. That there's a big move of tech companies, startups to New York. A lot of young people, a lot of young talent. They love the city. They like the city vibe. North Carolina, David says, I think North Carolina, the Research Triangle, Chapel Hill, Raleigh, and Durham, that area, has a lot of potential because of the universities. I don't think Clemson is too small. Clemson is too small, too in the middle of nowhere, too difficult to get to, no airport close by, not proper airport. So I really do think North Carolina Triangle, beautiful country, relatively business-friendly North Carolina, and world-class universities, Duke and UNC Chapel Hill. But then you go back to California. California's not going away. It's something that we should note. As much as we complain about California, as much as we talk about California, people leaving and so on, California is still the technology hub, the entertainment hub. The cities in California, while have a lot of problems, they're still booming. Real estate prices are still very high. That's true of San Francisco. That's true of LA. So they've got big problems. I think the quality of life is not very high. But don't write off California, in spite of its leftist policies. I love Florida. Somebody says I don't like Florida. I love Florida. It's a great place to go to Disneyland. It's a great place to go to the beach. It's a great place to hang out. And it's good for some business, to do some business. It just doesn't strike me. And it's got the least business regulations on an economic freedom index. Florida actually scores higher than Texas because it actually regulates its businesses less than Texas. So I think in many respects, I just don't see it as a Silicon Valley hub. I just don't see it as a tech hub. It doesn't have the universities and it doesn't have the networking effect that Austin has and other places have. So I'm a big fan of Florida.
And to begin with, I wonder if I can ask you to capsulize. I know this is difficult. Can I ask you to capsulize your philosophy? What is Randism?
First of all, I do not call it Randism, and I don't like that name. I call it Objectivism.
All right.
Meaning a philosophy based on objective reality. Now let me explain it as briefly as I can. First, my philosophy is based on the concept that reality exists as an objective absolute. That man's mind, reason, is his means of perceiving it. And that man needs a rational morality. I am primarily the creator of a new code of morality which has so far been believed impossible, namely a morality not based on faith.
On faith?
Not on faith, not on arbitrary whim, not on emotion, not on arbitrary edict, mystical or social, but on reason, a morality which can be proved by means of logic, which can be demonstrated to be true and necessary.
All right. All right.
Now, may I define what my morality is?
All right.
Because this is merely an introduction. My morality is based on man's life as a standard of value. And since man's mind is his basic means of survival, I hold that if man wants to live on earth and to live as a human being, he has to hold reason as an absolute, by which I mean that he has to hold reason as his only guide to action, and that he must live by the independent judgment of his own mind, that his highest moral purpose is the achievement of his own happiness, and that he must not force other people, nor accept their right to force him, that each man must live as an end in himself and follow his own rational self-interest.
May I?
All right, before we go on, reminder, please like the show. We've got 163 live listeners right now, 30 likes. That should be at least 100. I figure at least 100 of you actually like the show. Maybe there are like 60 of the Matthews out there who hate it, but at least the people who are liking it, you know, I want to see a thumbs up. There you go. Start liking it. I want to see that go to 100. All it takes is a click of a thing, whether you're looking at this. And you know, the likes matter. It's not an issue of my ego. It's an issue of the algorithm. The more you like something, the more the algorithm likes it. So, you know, and if you don't like the show, give it a thumbs down. Let's see your actual views being reflected in the likes. But if you like it, don't just sit there. Help get the show promoted. Of course, you should also share. And you can support the show at JeronBrookShow.com/support, or on Patreon or Subscribestar or Locals, and show your support for the work, for the value hopefully you're receiving from this. And of course, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, even if you just come here to troll, or even if you're here like Matthew to defend Marx, then you should subscribe, because that way you'll know when to show up. You'll know what shows are on, when they're on. You'll get notified, right? So, yes, like, share, subscribe, support. Like, share, subscribe, support. There you go. Easy. Do one or all of those, please.